Stop buying duck feed. That bag you haul home every 2 weeks costing $25, $30. Maybe $40 is not a permanent cost. There are 7 specific trees that can replace almost all of it and do far more than just provide food. These trees fix the mud pit, clean the water, shade the pen in summer, and create a system that improves every single year. Most duck owners accept 2 things as permanent facts of life: the mud and the feed bill. Both of those are completely optional problems once the right 7 trees go into the ground. By the end of this breakdown, you will know which 7 trees to plant, why each one works, and the ancient farming logic behind the system. This is not theory. These trees went into a real duck pen, and the results speak for themselves. Here is what nobody tells new duck owners. The feed bill never stops growing. It only gets larger. An adult duck consumes roughly 6 to 8 ounces of feed every single day without exception. Scale that across a modest flock of 8 ducks, and a 50-pound bag disappears every 10 to 12 days. At today's prices, that is $30 to $45 per bag, which works out to $90 to $135 every single month. That is over $1,000 a year just to keep 8 ducks alive and producing before any other expense is counted. Feed prices spiked hard in 2022 and 2023, and there is no guarantee the next spike is not already coming. Then add the mud problem, because ducks and water create a very specific kind of ground destruction. They splash, they dabble, they convert every square foot of bare ground into slippery, compacted mud within weeks. Once that ground is compacted, nothing grows. No grass, no clover, no insects, just wet, dead earth that smells. This creates a vicious cycle where you pay more for feed because nothing grows in the pen. And nothing grows in the pen because the ducks have destroyed every inch of ground cover that could support it. Straw, wood chips, gravel, sand. All of those fixes last about 2 weeks before ducks turn them into soggy mush. Then comes another load of material, more money spent, more labor done, and the pen still looks exactly the same. 3 separate attempts to plant grass seed directly in the pen ended the same way. Ducks ate every sprout before it established. A permanent mud pit is not the price of keeping ducks. It just feels that way until the right trees go in. Before commercial feed existed, before a single bag of pellets ever rolled off a factory line, farmers raised ducks under trees. Not by accident and not casually, by deliberate design that had been refined across centuries of practical observation. In 18th century England, farmers ran ducks through their orchards as standard agricultural practice every season. The ducks ate fallen fruit, slugs, snails, and insects. The trees provided shade and a continuous supply of natural food. Duck manure fed the trees. Tree fruit fed the ducks. A closed loop with 0 purchased feed and 0 mud. In Southeast Asia, this system goes back even further. Over 1,000 years of integration between ducks and tree crops. Chinese and Vietnamese rice paddy farmers planted mulberry trees, fruit trees, and bamboo alongside their duck flocks. The trees dropped leaves and fruit. The ducks ate the insects and organic matter underneath, and manure fed the next growth cycle. Entire villages maintained productive duck flocks for generations without buying a single grain of commercial feed. This was not primitive farming. It was intelligent design refined through centuries of careful observation and result tracking. When commercial agriculture expanded through the mid-1900s, this knowledge was not lost by accident. It was replaced by design. Feed companies needed customers dependent on their monthly product, so the message became deliberately simple. Ducks need commercial feed, full stop, buy the bag, and do not ask what farmers were doing before the bag existed. Trees in a duck pen are not decoration. They are the feed system, the drainage system, and the pest control system together. Once that understanding landed, the approach to the mud pit changed from fighting it to planting through it. Tree number 1 is mulberry, the single most powerful tree available for a duck pen, and the most immediately impactful. A mature mulberry tree drops 60 to 100 pounds of berries in a single season, and ducks respond to them with pure enthusiasm. They eat the berries right off the ground the moment they fall. No processing, no preparation, just free food from above. The real mechanism that makes mulberry exceptional is its fruiting window, 6 to 8 weeks of continuous daily production. That is not a one-time event. It is almost 2 full months where ducks eat fresh, nutrient-dense fruit without any input. Mulberry trees were the backbone of duck and poultry systems across China for over 1,000 years of recorded farming. Farmers planted them along pond edges specifically so the fruit would fall directly into the water for the ducks below. During the full fruiting window, flocks fed themselves entirely without touching any purchased or prepared feed. Plant mulberry on the south-facing side of the pen, where it receives full sun and 15 feet of room to establish. Within 3 to 4 years, a mulberry provides enough fruit to produce a noticeable and measurable drop in summer feed costs. Tree number 2 is white willow. If mulberry is the feed system, willow is the drainage system that eliminates the mud pit. A single mature white willow absorbs 50 to 100 gallons of water per day through its extensive root system. The standing water in a duck pen, the soggy ground that never seems to fully dry, willow roots drink it consistently. Those roots actively pull moisture out of the surrounding soil, which means the ground near them firms up and stays walkable. Old European farmers planted willows along every drainage ditch and pond edge because they understood this function perfectly. Willows regulate soil water content better than most man-made drainage systems and cost nothing beyond the initial planting. Plant willow in the lowest and wettest corner of the pen. That is where water collects and where willow does its best work. Willows can start from cuttings. Push a fresh branch into wet ground in early spring, and it will root without any help. One important precaution: keep willow roots at least 30 feet from any septic system or buried water lines. The spreading root system is aggressive enough that proximity to buried infrastructure creates real and costly problems. Tree number 3 is elderberry, the most overlooked tree in duck systems and the one that surprised most people who try it. Elderberry bushes grow rapidly, reaching 6 to 12 feet within 2 to 3 years of planting from bare root stock. They produce clusters of small dark berries that ducks eat readily throughout the autumn fruiting period. But the berries are not the primary value of elderberry in a duck pen. The insects are. Elderberry flowers attract enormous numbers of flies, beetles, moths, and their larvae throughout the blooming period. Every single one of those insects is high-protein food for ducks, which patrol underneath the canopy picking them off. Old English hedgerow farmers planted elderberry along poultry run edges specifically because it functioned as a natural insect trap. The blossoms pulled insects in, the birds ate them, and the protein in commercial feed got replaced by biology. Plant elderberry along the fence line in groups of 3 to 5 plants spaced 6 feet apart. They form a dense hedge that also functions as a windbreak, and they tolerate the wet conditions that kill most other plants. Tree number 4 is the fig, an ancient food source for poultry, with over 2,000 years of documented agricultural use. A single fig tree produces 30 to 50 pounds of fruit per season in a mature, well-established specimen. Figs that fall to the ground split open naturally and become soft, sugar-rich meals that ducks consume immediately. No cutting, no processing, no preparation required. Fallen figs are ready the moment they contact the ground. The mechanism here is energy density. Figs are exceptionally high in natural sugars and carbohydrates. During late summer and early fall, when ducks need extra calories for molting and winter preparation, figs arrive exactly on time. Roman farmers planted fig trees in their poultry yards over 2,000 years ago, one of the oldest tree-bird pairings in agriculture. Plant fig on the most sheltered side of the pen, ideally near a south-facing wall or fence that retains heat through the day. In Zone 7 or colder, cold hardy varieties like Chicago Hardy or brown turkey survive winters that kill standard fig cultivars. Tree number 5 is hackberry, the forgotten homestead tree that is almost criminally underused in duck systems. Hackberry produces thousands of small sweet berries every fall that ducks eat eagerly and in large quantities. Beyond the berries, hackberry is one of the most tolerant and low-maintenance trees available for difficult growing conditions. Poor soil, wet ground, drought, wind, and general neglect. Hackberry handles all of them without visible stress. The berries are high in fat and calories. Native American communities relied on them as a calorie-dense winter food source. If hackberry fruit sustained people through harsh winters, it will absolutely sustain a duck flock through the same conditions. Hackberry also develops a wide-spreading canopy that provides substantial summer shade over a large area of pen ground. Shade keeps pen temperatures 10 to 15 degrees cooler in summer, which directly reduces heat stress on the flock. Heat-stressed ducks eat less feed, lay fewer eggs, and get sick more frequently. Shade alone prevents all three outcomes. Research on laying ducks shows that adequate shade during hot months can increase egg production by 10 to 15%. Plant hackberry in the center of the pen with 20 feet of clear space. It grows slowly at first, but becomes a powerhouse by year 5. Tree number 6 is black locust. This tree does not feed ducks directly, it feeds everything that feeds them. Black locust is a nitrogen-fixing tree, meaning its roots pull nitrogen from the atmosphere and deposit it into the soil. Every plant growing near a black locust, clover, grass, forage weeds, grows faster, thicker, and more nutritiously. Instead of buying fertilizer to grow forage and buying feed to supplement forage, one tree makes the ground permanently richer. Traditional European silvopasture farmers planted black locust as the anchor tree in every managed grazing system. It enriched the pasture beneath it, which improved the animals grazing on that pasture, which reduced every input cost. Black locust also produces exceptionally hard rot-resistant wood. Fallen branches become fence posts that last 30 years untreated. Plant black locust on the perimeter of the pen, spaced 12 to 15 feet apart, and keep the canopy pruned for ground light. Light reaching the ground beneath black locust grows the clover and grass that ducks graze on between fruit seasons. Tree number 7 is serviceberry, the finishing piece that closes the seasonal gap every other tree on this list leaves open. While mulberry, fig, and hackberry produce food in summer and fall, serviceberry produces sweet blueberry-like fruit in late spring. That is the one gap in a natural feeding calendar. Spring, the season when nothing else is producing yet. A mature serviceberry produces 10 to 20 pounds of fruit that ducks eat whole from low-hanging branches or off the ground. The fruit is packed with vitamins and antioxidants that directly support egg production during the most active laying months. Colonial American farmers called it shadbush and considered it essential infrastructure, not decorative planting. It fruited early, grew in almost any condition, and fed whatever livestock grazed beneath it through the hungry spring weeks. Serviceberry stays relatively compact at 10 to 15 feet and tolerates partial shade from larger neighboring trees. Plant it along pen edges or tuck it under the canopy of a larger mulberry or hackberry for a layered productive system. When all 7 trees are established, the property has fruit from spring through fall, shade through summer, drainage year-round. Nitrogen continuously enters the soil. An insect ecosystem replaces the protein from commercial feed, and the mud disappears. When the idea of planting trees in a duck pen was first encountered, it sounded like wishful thinking from a gardening forum. The pen at that point was a disaster. Pure mud, the kind that pulls boots off at the ankle with every step. The monthly feed bill for 8 ducks was $110, straw was going in every other week, and ducks were starting to seem like a mistake. A friend running a small permaculture operation gave one piece of advice: plant mulberries and willows in the pen. The immediate objection was obvious. The ducks will destroy anything planted before it gets a foot off the ground. The solution was simple wire caging around each trunk, basic hardware cloth wrapped in a circle for the first 2 to 3 years. A mulberry, 2 willows, an elderberry cluster, and a fig went in that first spring, each protected with its own wire cage. Year 1 changed almost nothing visible. The trees were small, the ground stayed muddy, and the feed bill did not move. Quitting the experiment felt reasonable at that point, but the trees stayed in the ground. By the second summer, the willows had grown 6 feet in a single season, and the ground near them started drying out visibly. The elderberry was buzzing with insect activity, and the ducks were spending hours underneath it foraging on their own. By year 3, the mulberry fruited for the first time, and the ducks ate themselves full for 6 straight weeks. During those 6 weeks, the feed trough sat completely untouched. The tree was providing everything the flock needed. The monthly feed bill dropped from $110 to under $40. During peak fruiting season, it effectively reached 0. Before putting a single tree in the ground, here are the 4 mistakes that cost most people their first planting season. Mistake 1 is planting without protection. This is the single most consequential error possible in this system. A young tree planted directly in a duck pen without a cage or barrier will be stripped, eaten, and trampled within days. Every tree needs a hardware cloth cage around the trunk for the first 2 to 3 years. It costs about $5 per tree. Skip this step, and every tree planted will be lost before it has a chance to establish any meaningful root system. Mistake 2 is planting only one species and expecting seasonal coverage that a single tree simply cannot provide. One mulberry gives 6 to 8 weeks of fruit. 7 species gives coverage from late spring through early winter. Serviceberry in spring, mulberry and elderberry in summer, fig and hackberry in fall, willow and black locust working year-round. One species is a seasonal snack. 7 species working together is a complete self-sustaining feeding and drainage system. Mistake 3 is ignoring spacing and cramming trees too close together because the pen feels small. Crowded trees compete for light and water, produce less fruit, and create a canopy so dense nothing grows underneath them. Follow the spacing recommendation for each tree. If the pen fits only 4 or 5, start there and expand over time. Mistake 4 is expecting the system to pay off in the first season and abandoning it when it does not. This is a 2 to 3 year system. The trees spend the first seasons building roots that will support decades of production. Quitting after one season means stopping right before the payoff that all the early investment was building toward. Picture the pen 3 years from the day the first tree goes in with its wire cage around the trunk. The mud is gone. Willow roots have drained the soil, and grass grows thick under the black locust canopy. Ducks wake up in spring and eat serviceberries straight from branches low enough to reach without any help. Summer brings mulberries by the pound and an elderberry hedge crawling with the insects that replace purchased protein. By fall, figs and hackberries drop daily, and the flock barely glances at the feed trough through the entire harvest period. The annual feed bill has moved from over $1,000 to under $200. That is $800 back in the household every year. And those savings grow larger each season as the trees mature, produce more, and require nothing additional from anyone. The ducks are healthier, the eggs have darker, richer yolks, and the pen no longer smells or looks like a problem. This system does not wear out, does not need replacing, and does not get more expensive over time. It gets more productive. Every year the trees grow bigger, fruit heavier, and shade deeper without any additional investment from the person managing them. Which of the 7 trees is going in first? Drop the answer and your climate zone in the comments below. A specific recommendation based on climate and pen size is more useful than general advice that fits every situation equally. If this changed how the duck pen looks as a solvable problem rather than a permanent condition, hit subscribe and the bell. The next step after trees is a duck rotation method that eliminates the last remaining portion of the feed bill entirely. Your duck pen does not have to be a mud pit, and the feed bill does not have to keep climbing every season. Plant the trees, protect them through the establishment years, and let a system refined over centuries do the work. Mulberry roots also stabilize loose or compacted soil, holding the earth together through the wet season duck traffic creates. The dark purple stained mulberry leaves on the ground actually attracts earthworms that further aerate and improve soil structure. 2 mulberry trees planted 15 feet apart can create a canopy that shades nearly the entire center of a standard duck pen. Ducks that forage actively under fruiting trees show measurably higher mineral levels in their eggs compared to feed-only flocks. Willow leaves that fall into the pen are also eaten by ducks and provide trace compounds that support liver and kidney function. Willow bark has been documented in traditional farming as a mild anti-parasitic material when ducks consume it from young growth. The dense root mat a willow develops over 5 years can physically change the drainage profile of an entire pen permanently. Elderberry planted as a hedge also provides a visual barrier that reduces flock stress from traffic and predator sightlines. Stressed ducks consume more feed and lay fewer eggs. Visual barriers from dense hedging reduce cortisol responses in the flock. Elderberry berries that ducks do not consume fall and ferment slightly, attracting fruit flies that become additional protein. The complete leaf drop from elderberry in autumn creates a natural mulch layer that further feeds the soil below. Fig roots are relatively non-invasive compared to willow and can be planted closer to structures without infrastructure risk. In warmer climates, a fig planted against a south wall can produce 2 crops per season rather than the standard one. Second crop figs arrive in late summer and provide caloric support exactly when ducks are entering the pre-molt energy demand period. Hackberry fruit remains on branches well into winter in many climates, providing food during the coldest and most expensive months. Birds that eat hackberry fruit regularly show improved feather quality due to the fat content present in the berry skin. Black locust blossoms in late spring are edible, and ducks consume fallen flowers as a supplemental protein and sugar source. The nitrogen deposited by black locust roots increases earthworm populations in the soil, which ducks then forage from the surface. Earthworms are approximately 70% protein by dry weight. A high worm soil beneath black locust is a living protein supplement. Serviceberry is one of the few trees that produces reliably in partial shade, making it ideal for planting beneath larger trees. The antioxidant content in serviceberry fruit has been linked in poultry research to improved immune response during laying season. Staggering the planting of all 7 trees across 2 seasons reduces the protection labor required during the establishment period. Year 1, plant the largest and most impactful trees, mulberry, willow, and black locust, and protect them through establishment. Year 2, add elderberry, fig, hackberry, and serviceberry. Once the first group has grown past the height ducks can damage. This phased approach spreads the initial investment and makes the protection workload manageable across 2 growing seasons. A simple wooden stake driven beside each tree and connected to the wire cage adds wind stability during the first 2 years. Feed costs saved during the first full fruiting season typically cover the entire cost of all 7 trees, plus their protective caging. After year 3, the system becomes genuinely self-funding. Maintenance costs approach 0 as the trees mature and establish. Pruning mulberry annually in late winter stimulates more vigorous fruiting growth the following summer season. Heavy mulberry pruning every 3 years keeps the canopy manageable while maintaining high fruit production per branch. Ducks that have access to tree-based nutrition show reduced aggressive behavior, likely due to more complete amino acid profiles. A diverse natural diet reduces the nutritional deficiencies that often drive feather pecking and flock aggression in penned ducks. The combined leaf litter from 7 trees creates a deep natural bedding layer that composts in place through duck traffic. This living compost layer eliminates the need to import bedding material and builds soil organic matter continuously. Water quality in a duck pen with trees is measurably better. Leaf tannins have mild antimicrobial properties in standing water. Tree root networks also filter nutrients from duck water runoff before it reaches surrounding soil or any drainage point. Neighbors who see established duck orchard systems consistently express interest in the reduced smell compared to bare pen setups. Soil biology beneath an established 7-tree system tests significantly higher in beneficial microbial activity than bare pen soil. That microbial richness means any ground-level forage that does grow in the pen is more nutritious than forage from depleted soil. Ducks in established tree systems are observed to have stronger immune response and lower mortality in published smallholder research. The financial break-even point for the full 7-tree system typically arrives during the 3rd full growing season after planting. From year 4 onward, every season the trees save money rather than costing it, a permanent positive return on a one-time investment. This is the fundamental economic argument for the system. It requires patience in years 1 and 2 and delivers for decades after.